If you're wondering how to use an outboard piece of gear with Logic Pro, I'm going to show you a couple of ways. All right, let's dig into it. First of all, I've got a session pulled up in Logic. This is something I'm working on with some friends of mine, and I'm just going to solo the snare right now. And this is just so you can hear it. Play. A little bit of bleed in there. We recorded kind of live in the live room. But that's okay. We can still make use of a compressor on this. So what we're going to do is take that snare track, route it through the Focusrite Scarlett interface into this Clark Technique 76KT compressor, back into the interfaces and into Logic. So on the interface, on the back side of it, you've got outputs, right? Two of them are probably connected to your studio monitors. I actually have a second pair connected to an alternate pair of studio monitors. So output 5, or send number 5, is the first free one I have. So that one is coming out. It's actually coming into my patch bay, but that's not important to you unless you have a patch bay, in which case you can probably sort that out. And I've got it coming out here, and then it's patched into the input on the compressor. Now the compressor has line level inputs, and that's what you're going to want to use. So we're coming into the input on the compressor, then we come out of the output of the compressor, and I'm patched back into what ends up being input 12 on my interfaces here. So we're coming out. You'll notice these are different numbers. It doesn't matter which one you use, inputs or outputs. So I'm going out of output 5, my interface, into the compressor, out of the compressor, back in to another input. And this is a line level input, not a mic level. If you use the center on the multi connectors, you're going to want to use the center input here with the TRS jack. If you don't know what a TRS cable is, this is tip, ring, sleeve. And all that does is give you a balanced signal, which means it'll be less noisy than using a regular 1/4-inch cable with just a tip and a ring, or a tip and a sleeve rather, which might be something like an instrument cable, a guitar cable or something. Don't use those. Make sure you're using a TRS cable. All right, so now there's two different ways to do this. One of them is a pain, the other one is really easy. So I'm going to show you the hard one first. So first thing we can do is take this snare track here, and we're going to create a send. Now channel 5, output 5 on my Scarlett interface is what I currently have connected. We've got our send set up, out 5 here. We're going to want to turn that up. I'm just going to crank it all the way up just for effect. And so now, if we play this, nothing has changed, except you can see that my meter is bouncing on the compressor here. Well, how do we get that back into the DAW? What we're going to do is we're going to create a new track. We're going to use input 12, which is what I told you we were coming out of the compressor, back through the patch bay, and we're coming into input 12 on my interfaces. I have 24 channels here. You may only have 8, and that's fine. You can come right back into the inputs in your single interface. So we're coming back into input 12, which means I'm going to create a new track from audio input 12 here. So we'll go ahead and create that. Let's drag this up under the snare drum and call it snare compressed. All right, now if I monitor this, now you'll hear some weird delay in there, right? It's hitting twice. If I stop monitoring, one hit. You may wonder what's going on there. So what's happening here is there's actually a delay in the amount of time it takes to send out of the interface, through the signal chain, through the hardware, back into the interface, and into the DAW, into logic. So that has to be compensated for. Now what you'll end up having to do here is arming this channel, recording in real time, by the way, and then shifting it back so it's in line. This is a great way to do parallel compression if you want to do that, but you've got to record the whole thing and then time shift it back to realign it. There is a much easier way to get this done. So let's just delete that track because we're not going to need that. This is where things get fun. First things first, we need to turn off the send or we're going to get some really weird things happening. All right, now let's go to our plugin list over here. We're going to choose a new plugin. We're going to come down to Utility. We're going to go to I/O and go to Mono. This is a built-in plugin in Logic. You don't have to add anything or download anything to do this. Now remember, our output here is coming out of send number 5. So we're going to choose that as our output. That's the output from Logic. So we're sending this track, BK snare top, out through output 5. It goes through the patch bay into the compressor, back out of the compressor, and into what we said before. We're coming into input number 12 again. We're going to do a fun thing here. We're going to push this button right here that says ping. All right, 43 samples. So what that did is send a quick ping, you may have heard it, through the system to find out how much latency there is, how much lag is in the system. And what we ended up with was 43 samples. So those offsets where you heard ba-da, ba-da every time the snare hit, those were due to latency in the system. So this is automatically compensating for that latency. Now, things can get weird sometimes if a track is soloed, so if this doesn't work, we'll just unsolo it and put it back. But if we play this, hey! So you might be able to see the meter bouncing down here. If I turn this plugin off, you hear the difference. These are some drastic compression settings I'm just doing for effect. Turn the plugin back on. The meter bounces again. And there we are. You have a dry wet control here, so you can do parallel compression here. We go to 50%. Now we have a mix of 50% of the dry, 50% of the compressed signal. Full wet. Again, we turn it off, turn it on, and there you have it. You can use your outboard gear. Now what you'll want to do is, again, want to run this back. You're going to want to bounce the track in real time because you have to either save the settings, take a picture, and put them back every time you want to work on this, or get it right and then bounce the track to a new track. But make sure you do it in real time because your compressor can't work. Your compressor can't work faster than real time. You'll get some really weird stuff going on there if you try to do that. Anyway, I hope that helps. If you've got any other questions about what's happening here, about routing or plugins that I like to use, let me know. I'd love to do more of these kinds of videos. All right, see you in the next one.
His blood and forever washed white on the beauty.